When you think of your Nan's kitchen, what do you see? Maybe it's a kettle whistling, the oven door opening, or maybe just the faint smell of baking. Did she use any of these 10 things? Perhaps something has brought back a fond memory. We'd love to hear about it. Just pop it in the comments. We'll start with a bang. This item may look like a child's toy, but it's actually a relic from another age, a time when cooking was done by hand. And while it may not seem like a big deal now, it was actually quite revolutionary for its time. The first version of the KitchenAid stand mixer was introduced in 1919, and it was an instant hit. No longer did cooks have to stand and stir batter or dough by hand for hours. The machine would do the work for them, saving time and energy. It was also surprisingly affordable, costing less than £10 in today's money. That means that even middle-class families could afford to own one. However, this convenience came at a cost. The noise level was deafening. Imagine trying to have a conversation while this thing is going. It was not possible. But despite the racket, these machines were in high demand. Families wanted all the conveniences they could get and were willing to put up with the noise. What happens when you can't get your hands on a rare ingredient? You make it yourself, of course. That was the motto of our grandparents and great-grandparents who lived through 2 world wars and the Great Depression. Nothing was too difficult if it meant they could put a meal on the table for their families. They would use whatever they had on hand and make do with it. Even if the results weren't always pretty, they were always tasty. And nowhere was this ingenuity more evident than in the kitchens of Britain, where a new gadget had emerged that allowed people to transform milk into thick, creamy butter. It looked like a medieval torture device, but it was actually a very simple machine that consisted of a wooden bucket filled with cream and a crank. The cream was heated and then vigorously churned until it separated into butter and buttermilk. Then the butter was washed, salted, and put into a container ready to be used in cooking. It was a lot of work, but the results were worth it. Their own fresh butter, which tasted better than anything you could buy in the shops. Plus, it was a great way to use up leftover milk and cream. Do you enjoy making homemade ice cream? Well, your Nan probably did too, especially if she had one of these beauties in her kitchen. Ice cream makers have been around since the 1800s, but they really took off in popularity during World War II, when people were stuck at home and looking for fun ways to pass the time. Plus, it was a great way to use up rationed ingredients and keep everyone happy. The free market soon responded with an array of different models. There were small ones for individual portions and large ones for parties. There were even portable ones that could be taken on picnics. This was one gadget that everyone wanted in their kitchen, but sometimes you needed more than a good recipe and a dash of creativity. Sometimes you needed a little help from your friends. Enter the Women's Weekly Cookery Book. First published in 1902, it quickly became one of Britain's best-selling cookery books, and remained so for decades. It was full of tried and tested recipes that were easy to follow and used simple ingredients. But it was more than just a cookbook. It was a source of comfort and inspiration for generations of British women. It taught them how to cook for their families, entertain guests, and make the most of their ingredients. For many, it was a Bible that they turned to again and again. Before microwaves became commonplace, there was a simpler way to heat up your leftovers: the Sinclair microwave oven, which needs no electricity to run. This retro gadget is powered by a hot plate, meaning it can be used anywhere, indoors or out. It uses conductive heat transfer and radiant heat transfer to heat up your food. It has a timer allowing you to set the time that you want the plate to stay warm. Simply put your food on the plate and wait. It doesn't get any easier than that. And what's more, it comes in 4 different colours, giving you plenty of options to suit your kitchen decor. So why not add a touch of nostalgia to your next camping trip or festival? Today, tea bags are a ubiquitous sight in most British homes. But it wasn't too long ago that they were considered a luxury item. Before tea bags, loose tea was the only option. But that meant that brewing a pot of tea was a bit of a chore. It took time to measure out the right amount of tea, then even more time to strain out the leaves after the tea was brewed. Tea bags solved all of those problems. They were convenient, mess-free and cost-effective. Soon they were a hit with busy households and tea drinkers everywhere. The first tea bag patent was filed in 1903 by Thomas Sullivan, an American importer of fine teas. He had the idea of putting tea leaves in small bags made of gauze so his customers could brew tea without having to use a strainer. It wasn't long before tea bags became a household item in Britain, and today they're practically synonymous with British culture. In the olden times, before the microwave oven was invented, there was one appliance that ruled the kitchen, the Raytheon radar range. The first microwave oven was introduced to the public in 1947. It was massive, weighing 750 pounds and costing $5,000 in today's money. Not many people could afford one, but that didn't stop the wealthy from buying one and showing off to their friends. It was a status symbol that screamed, "I've made it." But it was more than just a luxury item. It was a game-changer in the world of cooking. It could cook food in minutes instead of hours, making it a must-have for any serious cook. But not everyone could afford a microwave oven, not in the early days anyway. After all, they were pricey. Thankfully, there was a cheaper alternative, the Sunbeam Mixmaster. Introduced in the 1950s, this gadget was the OG of kitchen appliances. It could mix, beat, blend and puree, making it a must-have for any baker or cook. It was powerful enough to handle tough doughs and delicate sauces alike. And it was built to last. These Mixmasters are still going strong today. Plus, it came in a variety of fun colours, so you could choose the one that matched your kitchen decor. Imagine it's a hot summer day. You're sitting in your garden having a cup of tea, and you need to cool down a little. What do? Simple. You grab one of these retro fans and get to work. This model is called the pedestal fan. It was invented in the mid-19th century and was the first fan that could be raised and lowered to different heights. This made it perfect for use in gardens where users could easily adjust it to get the perfect breeze. Plus, it was also very efficient. Unlike other fans, it didn't waste energy trying to move large volumes of air. It just focused on providing a nice, cool breeze in a small area. And it was relatively inexpensive, costing around £15 in today's money. For a while, it seemed like every British nan had one of these strange contraptions in her kitchen. It looked like a cross between a washing machine and a vacuum cleaner. That's because it was. It's called a Hoover, and it was invented in the 19th century. At first, it was just used for cleaning carpets, but soon people realized it could be used for much more. It was perfect for cleaning curtains, upholstery, and even clothing. It was also very effective at removing dirt and dust, making it a must-have for any household. It's safe to say that all of these gadgets have a special place in British history. They might not be in use anymore, but they're still fondly remembered by many. In fact, some of them have even made a comeback in recent years. Who would have thought that retro gadgets would become trendy again? If you've got any other examples of forgotten British kitchen gadgets, be sure to let us know. And don't forget to leave a comment below to share your thoughts. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.